You've gone from strength to strength ever since. So your recent record, successful record attempt. How long had you actually been planning for this one? When did you decide to have a go at this one?
I don't think I decided for sure until after the National 12 in 2009.
Right.
But for 10 years or more, I knew. I mean, I knew straight away after that 24 in 97. People were saying, "Oh, you know that." I mean, people said it will never be beaten, which is always a daft thing. I mean, every record's been beaten in the end, and I knew immediately because of all those things I've talked about, the preparation or lack of preparation for it, and the way it happened, and the weather also was far from ideal that year. We had a lot of wind and quite a bit of rain, so I knew that record was never going to be the ultimate. You know, well, there's no such thing as the ultimate, is there? But I knew that record was very beatable, and as the years went by, in the 10 years after that ride, I came to think about what might be possible, you know, what was feasible, and I did formulate in my mind a plan that, you know, 540 was possible, and I wasn't sure I could do 540, but I just felt that was possible.
Right.
I'm sure that more is possible. You know, I've no doubt that more is possible, but I felt 540 was a feasible target to aim for. So, and it was really after the 12 in 2009 that it was only then that I realised that I could still perform at that kind of level at long distance racing. So that made me think about, and I'd heard about this race, this one-off race that they were organising down south. And the organiser had already written to me about it and asked me if I might go and support the event. I think he was perhaps thinking I'd just go and be there at least,
right.
Which I would have done because I'd have been interested in the event even if I hadn't been riding. But, you know, began to think, well, if you're going to go down there, maybe I'll choose that as my race. And it would be good to ride on different roads, because although I love riding Shropshire, and I know the local event is a fantastic 24, the Mersey Race 24, I've ridden it numerous times, and it's a great event and it's really well organised, but those roads I race on all the time, and I've done those roads to death, and it would be appealing to me to race on different roads, really, different area.
Right. So it's a couple of years then that you sort of thought, I think I'll have a go at this. So it's really couple of years in the planning. When you talk about your team, the people behind you, how many people are actually involved in? So I know some people will have it in their mind that if you go out and ride a 24-hour TT, then you sort of hop on your bike and off you go and keep going as hard as you can for as long as you can. But how big is this team that supports you in these events?
Well, it's quite a small. We had 7 people this time, but there's a slightly bigger team around the edges as well of club mates, but there's the nucleus of the team really is Paul Histon and Alan Roberts. Alan had a terrible accident in 2004. And he's confined to a wheelchair now as a result of it. So he was a great racer for many years, great time trialist. We came from completely different backgrounds, Alan and I, because when I raced as a road racer in my formative years, you know, there were the roadmen and testers, as we called them, and I was a roadman, and Alan was your consummate tester. You know, the bikes we rode were different, the way we trained was different, the way we looked at cycling was different. You know, we for years we would never have kind of mixed really, but as I sort of stopped road racing, I got friendly with Al, and you know we just struck up a friendship, and we've been very friendly ever since. And so Alan is a meticulous person by nature and great with figures. I'm not meticulous and hopeless with figures, and we kind of just meet in the middle. And our experience at different types of cycling allows us to mix and match both elements really. He's a consummate tester and with a great passion for time trialling. I've come from a road racing background, just kind of quite enjoyed time trialling, but don't have quite the same passion as he does. So Alan helps me now, although he can't cycle anymore. He still maintains an absolutely passionate interest in cycling and time trialling especially. and it allows him to have. He loves having input. You know, it's his. It gives him a chance to still soak himself up in cycling and get involved in my racing, and
absolutely, yeah.
So he's important, and the biggest element in my sort of cementing this 540 in my mind was Alan coming up with a schedule for it. He's great with schedules, mashes figures, and he sat down and basically just came with it was a very quick, for him, it was a straightforward sort of schedule we just put together. And this was, I think it may have been before the 12 even, it was a long time ago, a good few years ago. He just lashed out this schedule. It was a 280 first 12, 260 second 12, 540 miles. And it was just a gradual progression of, you know, decrease in speed.
Right.
Each 25 and 50 miles isolated in average speed and time. So I just got this schedule from him, looked at it, and as soon as I looked at it, I knew that, you know, the figures made sense. You know, the figures were doable. You know, you've got to see the figures to believe it and to be confident. And then I looked at the figures and knew straight away that could be done. You know, not necessarily by me, but by someone. You know, they weren't crazy. The figures weren't crazy, and so yeah, Al's schedule was absolutely critical in giving me the confidence to really go for this. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a nice situation to be in, isn't it? To draw up a schedule and then say to someone like yourself, right, off you go and do that. That's it's a nice position to be in.
Well, he knows, he believes in me far more than I believe in myself, and he comes up with these things because he thinks he knows what I can do, basically, and I'm never quite that sure, but I need those figures that he comes up with to give himself the confidence. Mm-hmm. So Al's the backroom man. He comes up with numbers and occasionally good, solid, sensible advice, which, you know, when you get involved with racing and you're in there knees deep, you sometimes get lost in your own little tunnel of stuff, and you need someone from outside to just give you a quick slap about the face and, you know, give you a dose of reality every now and then. Yeah. So Al's there always in the background, and Paul Histon is the man who, he's the guy who organises everything. He's the sort of, engine really behind the whole thing. He drives it from behind all the time, and he's the guy who was in the van, masterminding things in the feeding vehicle, and so Paul's always interested in anything that Paul has other things he gets involved with. He's got involved in coaching other riders over the last few years, and I haven't had that much to do. He's been busy with other people, so we haven't had a great input together. But if ever I'm doing anything special, I always tell Paul what my plans will be, and he's always interested and he always wants to be involved.
Yeah. You mentioned about the feeding van, and there's your training and your equipment, which we'll talk about later on. But I'd like to just ask you if I can. I mean, it strikes me you're on a bicycle working very hard for 24 hours. How do you actually go about keeping yourself fed and hydrated over that period of time? What do you actually eat, drink? You know, how do you get on?
Well, very simple really. We do keep it. My main philosophy in these long distance races is keep it simple, and keep it regular. Keep everything nailed to the floor. So that's what experience has taught us works best. So, if possible, we try and feed every half hour. It's not always possible with traffic conditions, because if you've got a rider moving at early on in the race, you're moving at 25 mile an hour. Got a lot of busy roads. There just isn't. You can't catch the rider up in time to feed them every half hour sometimes. So in every hour slot, we plan to take on 40 grams of Go, Science in Sport Go, which is a carbohydrate / electrolyte drink. Within that 40 grams, there's only, I think, 36 grams of carbohydrate. Now, potentially, you can take on at least 70 grams of carbohydrate per hour you can absorb. So we always leave the Go on the low side. 40 grams is what Science in Sport recommend per 3/4 of an hour. or we take that on per hour. And we top that up each hour with energy bars. Again, Science in Sport do like Go bars, which is quite soft now. The newer one's a bit softer. We use those this time. We had a mixture of Science in Sport Go bars and Talk bars. So the specific energy bars, which we cut in half, and have half of one of those each hour to top up. So that brings up the total carbohydrate to around 70 grams an hour. You know, roughly half of which is taken on in powder form and half in solid form.
Right.
And then we alternate. So in the perfect world, we'd have the drink on the hour and the food on the half hour. So you'd be taking something every half hour, but it wasn't always possible. So sometimes the drink and the food came at the same time.
Right.
But it's done very meticulously that, you know, we don't ever miss a feed, and we take on exactly what we planned every hour.